So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Q&A video, okay? In regards to my post on YouTube that I asked, let's talk about a question. So, I've picked two questions, okay? One of them is actually, I don't even have to answer it. You guys answered it, which I'll explain. But just remember, I just uploaded a very important video, on audio on my podcast on Spotify, The Mysteries of the Fifth House. So check that out, because that is actually going to be one of the useful techniques on my KRS vlogs regarding horoscope matching, which I'm currently showing on my academy, Maga Vedic Astrology Academy. The KRS vlogs are my uncensored vlogs. People think it's a course still. It's not a course. It's just me uploading videos and just talking about things freely, even though you can't anymore in this world. We have to go back to the hidden ages where you discuss certain things secretly. That's it. We're back to that. But I'm hoping Elon Musk brings a whole new social media into play. I'm just waiting for that, because apparently there's talks of Elon Musk bringing it, which I've been advocating for a long time. Even my Spotify, my first 4 or 5 videos I've spoken about, please contact Elon Musk. But the first question that was asked was by King Kwan. For shadow planet Rahu, what exactly does foreign means? Foreign such as generalized word as to which makes prediction. How does one know if foreign spouse, foreign culture, foreign lands, etc.? And the thing is, 4 or 5 people replied to this individual, especially Amit Prabhakar. Explained it very well. See, Rahu as being a foreign planet shows anything, just like Amit said here. You could be in India and you could be in New Delhi, like I was born in New Delhi. And whenever I went to, let's say, from New Delhi to Lucknow to visit aunts and uncles, Bikaner in Rajasthan or Bareilly, I really felt like I was in a bit of a foreign place, because even though they spoke Hindi, they spoke a different language. Some of the foods that I would eat would be made differently. Then if, let's say, from New Delhi you go to South, you go to Chennai, back then it was called Madras. I mean, that now you're looking at a completely foreign country. From food, language, culture, movies, including even religion. Like, for example, in South, they worship the god Dattatreya, who's the embodiment of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. I never knew that till I just started studying Jyotish. So you see, and there are so many other divinities and gods that they worship that you don't hear about it in North so much. At least not in like common families. I'm sure there's families who are connected to the South and they're worshipping Dattatreya in North India. So that's a foreign country, foreign things. Now, for example, I'll give you a tidbit here. Let's say you don't have Rahu in your 7th house. Your 7th lord is not connected with Rahu. Dhara Karka is not connected with Rahu. Venus is not connected with Rahu. Even in Navamsha, it's not connected with Rahu. Yet you married a foreign spouse. You married somebody of a different culture, different ethnic background, or from a foreign land. Even if they're Indian. So let's say you're born in India, you went to UK, you married an Indian girl or Indian boy. How did you see that? Well, in that case, the one thing that will work, take the ascendant of your birth chart. Whatever your ascendant lord is, put that ascendant in the Navamsha and read the chart. And if Rahu lands in the 7th house, clearly you can see that the reason why you married a foreign spouse. And I'm even trying with this technique of K and Rao in other divisional charts as well. Because if it can be used in Navamsha, then my mind became curious that will this technique work in Dasamsha, Dwadasamsha, Saptamsha. And this is something I really have to have time. 3-4 charts won't do anything. You got to look at least 200 charts And I'm trying to find a way to actually utilize my students on KRS Vlogs or my academy and to ask some of these questions from their chart. That will bring a great perspective. So I'm going to do that. So if you're on my KRS Vlogs, watch out for an email from me pretty soon. So that's what Rahu is. Rahu is anything that is foreign to you. You know, so for example, Rahu is transiting the second house of your birth chart. Okay. You're going through Maha Inantra Dasha of second lord, okay, or moon. And Rahu transits the second house. In that particular period, you're going to be trying out some foreign food. And I can actually, this one testing worked. For example, my sisters-in-law came and my brother-in-law came last year at our home. And I made tandoori chicken for them. And I know the eldest sister of my wife, I know her horoscope. Rahu was transiting the second house. And she was running through Antradasha of the second lord. So she had to take in food, which is very foreign to her. She has eaten, even when I went to St. Louis, whenever I went, they had me cook, lamb and all that. So they ate that. I didn't check it then. But for them, it's foreign food because all they eat is just basic American food. Indian food becomes very foreign. So you see, foreign things can be applied anywhere. You know, Rahu could be transiting the fourth house, but that doesn't mean anything foreign will happen with the home. You have to see the Mahayantra Dasha. Dasha comes first, then comes transit. Simple as that. Never, just use the transit by himself. Whenever I'm doing transit reading, I first look at the Mahayantra Dasha, then I'm making a prediction that, okay, this Saturn will do this. So when Rahu is in the fourth house, and if you're going through a certain period that activates the fourth house, what could happen is you could be a Christian and suddenly you see a beautiful statue of Buddha. You're like, wow, I gotta get it. And you buy it and you bring it home and you put it on your mantle or something. Well, guess what? A foreign object came within the home. That is foreign. Okay. So then the next question was, by Vanilla Boris Bennett. How do we come to a conclusion about a person when it comes to ascendant Atmakarka moon? How do we know which one resonates the most? Also, what exactly signifies spouse? Is it the seventh house, seventh lord, Jupiter, Venus, Dharakarka? Same with the father. So remember, I just made a video, right? That's on the thumbnail says, let me show you. Mother and you. In that case, I used moon. I used Mars, the fourth lord. I used the planet in the fourth house. I used fourth from the moon. And I used Matrikarka, MK. Okay, now some of you did make a good, made a good debate about the fact that, okay, why am I using Mars's aspect on Venus when it's a Jaimini concept? Okay, now here's the thing. So look at this. If you have a Matrikarka Venus in a movable sign, that means another planet from a movable sign cannot aspect Venus. Okay, we get that. We get the fact that Mars had to be in fixed sign to aspect Venus. But we are looking at the condition of the Venus. Initially, what is the condition of the Venus? If Venus is in the 8th house as Matrikarka, okay, receiving third aspect of Saturn, 8th aspect of Mars, axis of Rahu and Ketu. Well, guess what? Venus is in a very suppressed position. It's in a very difficult position initially. Now, when I look at it as an Matrikarka perspective, I cannot ignore those aspects. Even if I'm not using those aspects in Jaimini, Venus is suffering. So if I was to ignore those aspects and then go to Jaimini and say, well, Venus is not receiving any malefic aspect, so mother is this and this and this. No, because initial condition of the Venus, is tied down around malefics. Now, in the Gemini concept, you're thinking Venus is free. But initially, Venus is weakened. So when you're using Gemini to make an actual statement about mother using Matrikarka, you see it's weak. Now, let's say, for example, we were using Matrikarka for something related to home. Then we will see that, okay, Venus's sub-period is operating. I'm not going to use these aspects. Okay, so in this sub-period, things related to home will happen. And because through Gemini, Jupiter aspects Venus, the positive results will be seen. But for me, I wasn't doing that. I was actually looking at Matrikarka, and we're seeing the conditions of it. And even there is some conflicting things in Bhirat Parashara Horashastra, where when Gemini discusses, I think it's page 438, 436 or 438, where he's discussing about Gemini. Okay. In there, he actually is not showing that, oh no, you have to specifically use these aspect and that aspect. But again, that is when it's strictly Gemini, yes, we're not going to use those. But when I'm trying to find the avastha of the planet, I have to use that, especially when it comes to the Jiva Karka of that planet, which becomes the mother in that case. Okay. So now, in this particular question that you asked about, how do we see ourselves? Okay, we are ascendant Lord, ascendant nakshatra, Atma Karka, moon, even sun. You see how many things is representing us. Now, can we pick one thing and say this is us? No. Because here I am as an astrologer, okay, presenting something to you. Then what happens is, after this, I'll suddenly get a desire to watch the type of movies that I love to watch, which is horror movies. I love watching horror movies. And at the same time, okay, I'm also practicing, let's say, art. I'm sculpting something. I am doing research about something. One planet cannot show who I am. So you can't even say, well, I should only use this for me. That is me. No, because your, first of all, personality that they use in Western astrology, Western concept, is a multifaceted, universe of these different factors. Personality can't just be described with one thing. Oh, you're so emotional and you love to mother people. Fine, this person is emotional, loves to mother people. But guess what? They also love going to the gun range and shooting guns. That's one aspect of who they are. So you can never say that one thing is going to be representing this. And the thing is, this is not even like a source of confusion, because once you know astrology, once you know the dasha system, you understand, first of all, the dasha itself will change who you are. Like my last video on horoscope matching on my vlogs, I said you have to look at dasha. If you can say the person is a comedian, your husband is very jolly, loves to joke around, yet they're going through Ketu dasha, Ketu's with Saturn. In those 7-year period, all of that will be evaporated. They will become very distant to do everything. So now what happens? Now which planet are you going to use in terms of determining who this person is? Because if you make that conclusion by looking at the chart, the person sitting in front of you will be like, no, that's not me. It could have been them before. They'll be like, I was used to be like this, but I'm not for the past 16 years. I left all that behind. Why? Because Jupiter Dasha started. Jupiter was in the 12th house in Cancer with Ketu. Suddenly they become very diminutive. They wanted to find a teacher, guru, for wanting to learn philosophy, and they left their career of comedy. So there's so many things representing you. So of course I will be showing things about you, like you and your father, you and your paternal uncle. So there's a thing in Varamira's Bharat Jataka where it shows something about if a person is born in daytime, and if, let's say, Moon and Saturn are in a odd or even sign, then Moon and Saturn will become mother and father. And if you're born at night, something of that sort. I still have to go back to that book and revitalize that particular knowledge. There's so much. It's like, you can hardly remember things. We're not that intelligent anymore. At least I'm not. We don't have that photographic memory as some people. And so that's how we look at it. So when it comes to the father, is it Sun or Saturn? So it's a good thing that you said ask Sun or Saturn. That means you are studying some classic astrology. For example, they will say in Gemini, stronger between Moon and Mars would represent the mother. And they'd also say if you're born at night, okay, with a certain odd or even sign, then Saturn becomes the father. Okay. And Sun will actually represent paternal uncle. There's all of these things. And these are all the things that you have to kind of like, again, you see how scientific astrology is then. So if Sun does not match with your father, yet Saturn does, you'll be like, yeah, Sun's not matching with my father. Astrology doesn't work. Well, that's because we as astrologers don't know all of these little details, like sometimes by degrees. But sometimes you have to understand certain planets who are in odd signs, if they go into even signs and you're born at night, well, that will represent something else. You see how aware the brain was of people around when these things were written down, when these things were spoken to the students. They were spoken to once and they just remembered. In this day and age of social media and being distracted every minute with some news, you get lost. And yesterday, with the whole incidents of Will Smith that happened, apparently there have the time of births of both Will Smith and Chris Rock. I looked at it. I looked at Will Smith's Sukshma Dasha. He was running the Sun Sukshma Dasha. Sun is in the 5th house. In Uttara Falguni Nakshatra, conjunct the co-ruler of the 7th house, Ketu. So he's a Taurus ascendant. Which means during this one day, there will be a conflict related to or with the spouse on some kind of a stage and a platform. You see how beautifully, so I know this is the accurate time of birth, because he went on the stage to slap Chris Rock. If you don't know what happened in Academy, then you must be on a vacation somewhere and you don't have access to the internet. But he went on a stage and then the conflict related to marriage and spouse occurred. And Chris Rock was, I believe, in Mars, Sukshma Dasha, or Paryantara or Sukshma. Mars is in the 7th house in Uttara Falguni, looking at the 2nd house, I believe was the 7th Lord. So again, he had to deal with some conflict related to marriage and spouse. So that's just one tidbit. I wish I could just show you that, with the chart and screen. But again, it's for me, it's just entertainment thing, But it's funny to look at it and see that how even when the time of birth is accurate, Sukshma and Prana Dasha, which can show day by day or every 2 days events, you can see what occurs. And I believe it was Will Smith, Rahu, Mercury period, and Mercury is in the 11th house of achievements. So some achievement occurred. But that particular Ketu Sun, with Sun being Uttara Falguni, brought a conflict upon a stage. And 5th house is naturally a stage and performing and stage. This is how this works. So anyway, hopefully this has given some insights into these questions. And next week we'll do another question. Because this is actually, I think this is more of a great way to learn astrology, understand astrology. And sometimes when a great question is asked, it helps me. because then I research on that question. I'm like, wow, I haven't dealt with this situation before, or I have not dealt with this situation at all. Let me look into it. And of course, I have library of like 200 books, so I know which book is showing what, and I can actually refer to that. So it helps me to learn astrology better. Okay. So anyway, guys, if you're new to my channel, subscribe below so you don't miss these type of videos, and perhaps your question would be, picked. Otherwise, make sure you check out the links here under shop section with consultations and reports, and course section for my KRS vlogs and my other courses. And I'm actually going to be bringing Charadasha course soon. Maybe I will announce it in a couple of weeks or so. Let's see. All right. Bye-bye.